It was June 11th, 2021 when Guilty Gear Strive first released. It was a big moment for the series as it had never reached this level of popularity until this moment. We had players from all around the world and different scenes come together to play Guilty Gear. Tournaments were thriving and everyone was having fun. Sure, the game had issues, but the future felt bright. But little did we know, somewhere in the background, evil was brewing. Something was about to happen that would change Guilty Gear as we knew it. Something, or someone. Him. On November 30th, Happy Chaos released as one of the additional DLC characters for Season 1. And I don't think it's wrong to say he is one of the most notorious, or maybe infamous, characters in the game. This video is a story. A story of the strongest character the game had ever seen. A story of a character who broke the rules. This is the story of how Happy Chaos changed Guilty Gear forever. Today, I want to do a deep dive into Chaos as a character. He is easily one of the most influential characters in the meta over the years and is widely considered to consistently be one of the strongest characters. But why is that? I want to take a look at what makes Chaos work. Why is he considered so strong so consistently despite constant changes? As one of the most influential characters in the game, I think it'd be fun to sort of document his history throughout the game and understand why he's so controversial. And just to clarify, this is just for fun. I want us to keep the negativity and hate to a minimum here. For what it's worth, while I dislike fighting Chaos just like everyone else, I actually think he's pretty cool as far as aesthetics and personality go. His Joker personality is kind of funny and even lends itself well to his place in the community. And at the very least, I think his legacy throughout this game is interesting to talk about. So with that said, where do we start? Let's go over his history a bit, as I think that really sets the stage. When Chaos first released, most people didn't think much about him, just that he was a new, fun character. Most thought he was good, but they didn't realize just how good. After about a month or two of character development, we started to paint the picture, though this picture was anything but pretty. It started becoming increasingly clear just how powerful he was. People were finding insane strategies, block strings, combos, you name it. It quickly got out of hand, and it's a common opinion that in hindsight, he is the strongest character this game has ever seen, at least relative to the cast at the time. He could zone out most of the cast with ease due to his steady aim special. With this move, he could aim the gun at the opponent, putting a reticle on them. Once the reticle focuses, he could essentially instantaneously shoot the opponent. On block, it would leave him very advantageous due to a guard crushing, and on hit would lead to a high damage combo. He also has Curse, a sort of projectile he throws while jumping back. If this makes contact, it makes his steady aim focus even faster. The Chaos we know today is more of a mix-up monster, but back in the day, he was a zoning god. Even back then, he still had absurd offense, it was just rare he ever had to be that close to you. I think this is actually a great example of his versatility as a character, that he can go from being known for zoning to being known for offense these days, and that versatility is one of his keys to longevity as a character. Many argue that in this version of the game, Chaos was potentially ban-worthy due to how strong he was and how he invalidated the cast. Another important detail about the history of Chaos as a character is that naturally with a character this strong and a character that is this fun and unique to play, he's attracted a lot of strong players. There are a great number of Chaos players that have left their mark on the landscape of competitive Guilty Gear. Strong characters naturally attract strong players, and strong players are capable of really making those characters shine. Chaos could have easily ended up as a potential man character where he was never fully realized, but because there are so many strong players that have played him, I think it's truly showed how strong of a character he is. And because there have been so many players that have played him over the years of this game, it means that he's been ever present in the competitive scene. There have been many other strong characters throughout different versions of this game that didn't really have the representation you would expect a strong character to have. That has never been the case with Chaos. So what happened? Surely a character of this caliber received nerfs, right? Well, yeah, he did. I'll spare the exact details for the sake of time, but over the years, Chaos has actually received a great number of impactful nerfs. His playstyle has shifted quite a lot in general as well. Now certainly he is nowhere near the demon he was on release, but as I mentioned earlier, he is consistently considered one of the strongest characters over multiple versions. His tournament performance remains consistent, and people still don't like him. So what gives? Now I think we should deep dive into Chaos and his toolkit to really analyze why he is so strong. We are going to focus on his kit as it is today, which for reference is version 4.1. Chaos is interesting because usually complex or technical characters tend to not be consistently strong. Either because they are easy to imbalance with the wrong changes, as we've seen with characters like Zato or Asuka, who find themselves on the weaker end these days despite being strong at one point in time, or just the character is hard enough to play that you see inconsistent results. Chaos is the exception. Exception is a good way to describe Chaos in general, as he is kind of a rule breaker. I think I can boil down his kit to 5 areas that define him and make him as consistently strong as he is. Firstly, and most importantly, we need to talk about his 5H, which is unique in that it's more like a special move called At the Ready. For this move, Chaos enters a stance of sorts where he pulls out his gun. He can't block in this state, but he can put the gun away at any time with 2H. This move, much like steady aim, will put the reticle on the opponent and it will focus on them after some time. It does have worse tracking compared to steady aim, however. This move is largely the reason Chaos is so consistently strong. The main strength of his 5H is that it essentially acts independently from Chaos, meaning he can shoot the gun almost whenever he wants. He can shoot it from neutral or while moving, he can shoot it at any time during his normals or even during some of his specials like Curse or Roll. What makes Chaos consistent is he can convert almost any interaction into a combo or block string due to his unique 5H. Tag someone with a 2S, full combo. Land in air to air, full combo. They blocked your 5k from max range, that's a block string. A big thing to keep in mind is generally in Guilty Gear, having high convertibility from your hits is usually a strength of a top tier, and Chaos is almost unparalleled in this department. In the same vein, being able to easily start your offense is another big strength, in which Chaos has many ways to start his offense. This goes in tandem with his steady aim special I mentioned earlier. This move has infinitely effective range and can allow Chaos to discharge zoning tools while also giving him another way to force his offense. Now you might be wondering, what happens if Chaos tries to shoot the gun when it's not locked on the opponent? Surely the gun just either hits the opponent or not, depending on whether it's locked on, right? Nope. You see, even when Chaos's gun isn't locked on the opponent, there's still a chance that it can hit them. This is something that the community has come to call RNG shot. It's been in the game for about 4 years now, they haven't done anything about it, and let me tell you, it's frustrated a lot of people. This game is... No. It really cannot be understated how abnormal being able to convert and start offense this consistently truly is. Strive specifically is a game where the offense is largely comprised of minus frames and using the threat of cancels or spacing to condition the opponent. Usually, if characters attempt to take their turn back, they can't really mount much offensively, or the reward for doing so won't be that high, oftentimes just like a 2k 2D into a knockdown or something. Chaos warps the risk reward of these scenarios, however. What would normally be a situation where you can't get much, even blocking a max range 2k from Chaos means he gets to run insane offense on you. And if you get hit, it almost always leads to a combo. It's often stated Chaos has a weak defense because he lacks an invincible reversal, but I think his consistent reward on hit and block is frequently understated from a defensive position. And on Chaos's end, because the gun effectively allows him to stay at extreme frame advantage off most of his moves, he doesn't have to deal with this side of the game as often. In fact, his only special move with a normal hitbox, 2-3 success, is +3 on block for some reason, never mind having to use a bullet. Speaking of, these moves of course have a restriction. Chaos has 2 unique resources tied to his mechanic to help keep it in check. He starts with 6 bullets, and each shot naturally costs 1 bullet. He can reload the gun with, frankly, a very fast animation, so it's usually not too difficult to keep bullet count up. You can kind of get away with reloading in neutral, you can reload after a knockdown, or sometimes even mid-combo or during a block string. His super, Deus Ex Machina, will also reload all of his bullets. Concentration is the other resource indicated by the bar below the bullets. This bar is the more difficult to manage of the two, I'd say, as it depletes over time just for having the gun out. It also drains faster if the opponent is far away, and on top of that, shooting the gun drains a chunk of the gauge itself. Unlike bullets, this resource does come back naturally over time while the gun is holstered. He also has access to his focus special. This move will regenerate a large chunk of his concentration bar and also grants him a temporary buff where all concentration usage is halved for about 5 seconds after focusing. This move is much slower than reloading, so getting it off is more challenging. It's also counter recovery the entire time, making it extra risky. That said, you can still get a focus off during knockdowns, wall sticks, and even sometimes in combos. His other super, aptly named Super Focus, is essentially a much faster version of Focus, granting him all the benefits with faster recovery at the cost of tension. Now, I want to make it clear that these resources do matter, but I think they don't feel as much of a limiter as you would expect. He can frequently get his resources back on hit, so they mostly matter when things don't work out. If he spends a bunch of resources to run offense but the opponent defends correctly, he drops a combo or gets bursted or reversaled at a bad time, you kind of get the idea. That's when things can really go south in terms of the resource management department. Concentration comes back on its own, so it's usually not too hard for him to stall, especially given how strong his neutral is otherwise. If he gets the hit, he can properly maintain both resources and keep up the snowball effect, or use his tension to fill in the gaps. Importantly, because Chaos is so efficient at converting with his own resources, he rarely needs to use roaming cancels in the way that most other characters do, leaving him room to use the tension for crazy mix-ups or for his other supers. Mix-ups in offense is what we should probably talk about next. Because of the flexibility of his 5H and steady aim, he gets to force offense and stick to the opponent better than just about anyone. Chaos can create insane pressure sequences where he can stagger strings like 2K delay gunshot to either create frame traps or keep the string tight. He can vary his strings in so many ways and pretty much at any point can represent a throw. And if he gets a throw, that's a good opportunity for him to get the resources back that he just spent. And of course, if he hits you, he can also get the resource back. Because he can alter his timings in so many ways, commonly safe defensive options like fuzzy jumping become much weaker because he has the ability to target far more timings in his offense than most characters. An important detail with Chaos's pressure structure as well is that he's able to circumvent core defensive system mechanics. This is an aspect of the character that I think frustrates a lot of people, where things like faultless defense and deflect shield are not as useful as you would hope. It's not that they don't do anything, because they are still somewhat useful against the character, they just aren't as impactful as they are against most of the cast. Or at the very least, do not feel as immediately impactful as they do against most characters. The absurd strike throw potential isn't where it stops either. 5D, or tap dust as people call it, is a universal 20 frame overhead, which is pretty fast. However, most characters need to Roman cancel to combo off theirs. A select few characters can combo off theirs with prior setup. Chaos is the only character who can practically always combo off his tap dust because of his 5H. His roll special allows him to create incredibly fast cross-ups during his offense. This move passes through the opponent, and then he can shoot the gun after crossing through to mix up the opponent. The downside, of course, being it doesn't go very far and can be susceptible to being thrown out of it. This character has many ways to start offense, many ways to stay on offense, and many ways to mix you up, often requiring the opponent to defend properly multiple times in one sequence. The important detail here is not just the accessibility of the offense, but the quality of the offense at the same time. Next thing we need to go over is his normals. I feel like every person has a specific Chaos normal that lives in their nightmares. Let's start with his 2K. His 2K is 7 frames, which is fine. It has deceptively long range, and to top it all off, it has an incredible low profile starting as early as frame 5. This move lets Chaos contest in a lot of situations he would otherwise struggle due to the low profile and range. Strive is a game with a lot of K-button interactions, meaning people like throwing out a lot of K-buttons in certain situations, especially when spaced out slightly. The utility of this move is crazy, and keep in mind how effectively he converts or starts offense from this normal. His 5K is also quite strong, being 6 frames, good range, and having some low crush properties due to lifting his front leg up. These two K buttons in tandem with each other make Chaos a nightmare to interact with close up. His far slash is 10 frames in a game where many far slashes are 11 or slower, which makes this uniquely annoying at round start specifically, and it's also disjointed. Admittedly, these come at the cost of the move being pretty weak to low profiles and having a lot of recovery. His 2S is 11 frames and is one of the farthest reaching lows in the entire game, that he can, of course, convert off of consistently. If that's not good enough, it's also slightly disjointed. His 6S is a forward advancing move that helps him approach, as it also is an effective anti-air due to it being disjointed vertically and hitting quite high. All of his air normals are good, but there is one in particular we need to talk about. One that I am certain has scarred the community at this point. One that is so strong it is arguably the best jumping attack in the game, and that's J2K. Don't let the hurtbox fool you, I have seen this move beat so many anti-air attempts you'd think it was invincible. On hit and block, it gives Chaos a Goomba Stomp effect where he bounces off the opponent. On block, this allows him to get extended pressure, backed by his gun, and on hit, lets him get extended conversions that he doesn't even need resource for because they made J2K ground bounce, for some reason. The point is, on top of all the strengths we mentioned, he has a much better suite of normals than you'd expect for his archetype. Not only do you not want to be blocking Chaos, and not only does getting hit by him usually result in a great knockdown, if not a wall break, he also has very strong normals to hit you with in the first place. That leaves us at our final point, and that is his movement, specifically his ability to move backwards. He has one of the best backwalk speeds in the game, and his backdash is incredible. It's 18 frame total duration, 5 frames of invul, and moves quite far. He of course also has Curse, which moves him back a lot while throwing the projectile that the opponent really doesn't want to get inflicted by. What this means is that Chaos creates this tug of war game in his neutral. He has strong normals to control space, but he is also amazing at whiff punishing due to his backwards movement. You don't want to run into his normals, but if you don't run at him, he might get steady aim and start his offense. But if you try to rush at him, you might run into his 2S. But if you look to punish his 2S, you might get cursed. Maybe you should just play patient. Oh wait, he just reloaded his bullets safely in neutral because you were scared. Everything about the character just comes together so effectively. His tools force you to scramble, but he is more consistently rewarded from his hits. He forces you to play his game. That idea, that fact that he converts so well, starts offense so well, forces the opponent into his game, That aspect of him is almost unnerfable. That's why he remains so strong despite all the changes over the years. Because of how his tools work, he's able to stabilize the game in his favor most of the time. Now, to be clear, he has weaknesses. He is a low health character without a reversal, his forward movement isn't great, he is technically and executionally intensive, and while we see high level players make it look easy, it's not, and you are liable to lose rounds because you mess up an input. His damage output isn't that high on average these days. Maybe even more importantly, many characters have been consistently buffed over the years to the point they can compete with Chaos's strengths. That point is the last thing I want to talk about, actually. This isn't a proven fact or anything, and I'm not certain how much of it I believe myself. There have been many changes throughout this game's lifespan that players think were likely done in large part due to Chaos and the impact he's had on the game. Burst was changed to hit the entire screen, likely due to Chaos having so many burst safe routes previously. Of course, other characters had burst safe combos, but, Chaos was a character, he definitely had more of them. Wall sticking the opponent generates them a ton of burst now, likely due to Chaos abusing wall slump Poke, a strength of his I didn't even address in this video, by the way. There are plenty of other smaller things I could have talked about with him, but I wanted to highlight the biggest strengths. Characters continue to get better conversions and easier access to offense. Is that to keep up with Chaos? Wall Assault is arguably a mechanic that came from the need to let more characters keep up with Chaos. He is such an influential character in the meta, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say he also was at least somewhat responsible for many of these changes we've seen over the years. Though again, I'm not really convinced of it myself. In any case, that is the story of Happy Chaos, a character who has withstood the test of time and many, many patches. A character who once was at the very top alone, to now so graciously sharing his throne with others. The question at this point is, will his position in the game ever actually be shaken up? How do you even change this character without ruining his identity? He is a really unique character after all, for better or worse. I would love to know what you think down in the comments below, and keep it civil please. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear that down in the comments below, and if you would like to support me, leaving a like and subbing to the channel would be a big help. If you would like more videos like this as well, make sure to let me know that too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.